meeting was noticed as a regular meeting because we have a couple of resolutions on the agenda, which is unusual for a work session. So I would like to start with the resolutions, if we could. And I guess we'll go from, this is an odd situation for us. Mr. Rizzo, if you would start.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Joanne Caddy as confidential secretary to the mayor at a bi-monthly salary of $2,208.34 effective January 22nd, 2026.
Second,
All in favor? Aye.
resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to sign the letter of understanding between the village board and the confidential secretary to the mayor.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes Sergeant Kerwin and Police Officer Bruno to attend Red Dot Optics Firearms Instructor Certification at the Westchester County Firearms Training Center from February 1st to February 7th, 2026 at a cost not to exceed $1,800 to be paid out of GL account 83120.415 training, conventions, and publication.
Second.
If I could, just to correct dates on that, on February 9th and February 10th, it's not the 1st or 7th.
Oh.
February 9th through February 10th. Sorry. All right, that, change.
Second.
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 All in favor?
That's me, yeah, that's me.
What?
Oh, no, that's you second.
I'm getting very confused.
Oh,
Yes, seconded by Mr. Rizzo, and all in favor? Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes Police Officer Sweeney to attend the field certification phase of the gun recognition expert training course in Philadelphia, PA from February 1st to the 7th, 2026, at a cost not to exceed $150 for gas and tolls, to be paid out of GL account A3120.415 training, conventions, and publication. The admissions fee, lodging, and meal expenses to be paid by the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Council.
second.
All in favor? Aye. There's two of these, so I'm headed just church.
Now it's my turn.
You get one also.
Whereas the town of Southampton has proposed a regional stormwater infrastructure maintenance shared services project that would enable participating municipalities to jointly utilize a regional vacuum truck to support a regular and coordinated schedule of stormwater infrastructure maintenance. And whereas the proposed project is intended to improve the efficiency, reliability, and cost effectiveness of stormwater system maintenance by reducing duplicative equipment purchases, improving maintenance frequency, and strengthening intermunicipal cooperation. And whereas the shared use of a regional vacuum truck would support maintenance activities, including but not limited to cleaning and maintenance of storm drains, catch basins, and hydrodynamic separators, thereby optimizing the performance of existing stormwater infrastructure. And whereas the project is expected to provide important environmental benefits by improving stormwater system function and reducing the discharge of pollutants to regional waterways. And whereas the town of Southampton intends to submit an application for funding throughout the New York State Department of Local Government Efficiency LGE grant program to support the acquisition of the vacuum truck and the establishment of a formal shared services framework among participating municipalities. And whereas the Village of West Hampton Beach recognizes the regional value of this initiative and the operational, fiscal, and environmental benefits that may result from participation in the project. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby expresses its support for the regional stormwater infrastructure maintenance shared services project led by the town of Southampton. And be it further resolved that the Village of West Hampton Beach affirms its intent to participate in the project, subject to final terms and conditions through the development and execution of an intermunicipal agreement or other appropriate shared services arrangement. And be it further resolved that the Village of West Hampton Beach authorizes its designated officials to cooperate with the town of Southampton and other participating participating municipalities in project planning, coordination, and implementation efforts related to the shared stormwater maintenance initiative. And be it further resolved that this resolution is adopted in support of the town of Southampton's application to the New York State Local Government Efficiency (LGE) grant program and may be submitted as supporting documentation with that application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Whereas the town of Southampton has proposed a regional marine operations shared services project involving the acquisition of a marine barge to be jointly utilized by participating municipalities for navigation safety, marine infrastructure work, and emergency response activities. And whereas the proposed project is intended to improve the efficiency, reliability, and cost effectiveness of marine operations by reducing duplicative capital expenditures, limiting reliance on contracted services, and strengthening intermunicipal cooperation. And whereas the proposed shared services approach would allow participating municipalities to access a regional marine asset without the need for each municipality to independently purchase, operate, and maintain a marine barge. And whereas the town of Southampton intends to submit an application for funding through the New York State Department of State Local Government Efficiency grant program to support the acquisition of the marine barge and establishment of a formal shared services framework among participating entities. Whereas the town of Southampton recognizes the regional value of this initiative and operational and fiscal benefits that may result from participation in the project. Now, therefore, to be resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of West Hampton Beach hereby express its support for the Regional Marine Operations Shared Services Project led by the town of Southampton, and be it further resolved that the town of Southampton affirms its intent to participate in the project, subject to final terms and conditions through the development and execution of the intermunicipal agreement on other appropriate shared services arrangements. And be it further resolved that the Village of West Hampton Beach authorizes its designated officials to cooperate with the town of Southampton and other participating municipalities in the project planning, coordination, and implementation efforts related to the Shared Marine Operations Initiative. And be it further resolved that this resolution is adopted in support of the town of Southampton's application to the New York State Local Government Efficiency (LGE) grant program and may be submitted as supporting documentation with that application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I guess I should explain that the reason there are two different resolutions that with the town of Southampton, there are different degrees of participation among the villages and the town trustees. And essentially, some of them have no need for the vacuum truck, some do, and some of them have no need for the barge, and some of them do. So that's why there are two separate resolutions for the grant program. Okay. At this point, we are not going to go into executive session. We'll save that for after the work session. We'll go into executive session for personnel reasons at the end of the work session portion. So right now, the next thing on the agenda would be the application 145 Green Street that has been submitted. And Mr. Bernstein is here to discuss it with us. I distributed this application to the board for their review. You're on.
Good evening. Good evening. I've considered for a long time the thought about having awnings installed in the front along Main Street of the building and on the Library Avenue side of the building. I always felt that it would be very attractive and would enhance the look of the building and enhance that whole corner area to have awnings there. It's just kind of like a nice finishing aspect to it. And the other part of it is that, as you know, I operate the restaurant there, and we run into situations a lot where people are sitting and the sun's coming down. And so they're looking to move from the front to the side and then from the Library Avenue side back to the front. And the awnings would be a way of providing that shade and also, if there's a light rain, you know, people are jumping up and running inside, so this, if it's a light rain, this might alleviate that issue. And also, people sometimes come and just sit and, you know, they're not necessarily getting food and drinks. People from the community will come and sit at a table up front or on the side, and that's okay. But again, it's for their comfort and their enjoyment to be able to have some protection from the sun and protection from a light rain. And so I feel that this would be very beneficial to that whole area. And in terms of the code, I think there's a code provision that specifically allows for a projection onto the village right-of-way, the village sidewalk area. And so that can be considered by way of a license from the village. One of the things that I think is important is that the awnings that I've been considering, which you have in front of you, they're retractable. So the idea is not to have awnings there all the time. It would be something, there's a period of a couple of hours in the afternoon where it'll hit the front side of the building. There's a period of a couple of hours where it'll hit the Library Avenue side of the building. And so that's the objective, to be able to, when it's uncomfortable for people to be sitting there, for their enjoyment, to be able to bring those awnings out. So they're retractable awnings. The awnings can be operated by a remote, and they also could be operated from my phone. So we would make sure that, just as we have tables and chairs in the front and the side by permission of the village, that we, if we're allowed to, would also have these awnings extended only at certain times, and then would bring them back in. Definitely at the end of the day, there'd be no reason to have them extending out. Now, I think one of the issues is the size of these awnings. So the area from where the building is up to, I'll call it the middle line, so to speak, where people walk by, it would extend out to that middle point. So it wouldn't be over where people are walking. And that extension is actually about 7 feet. Now, the awning actually could go out 10 feet, but it would be set, so it wouldn't be able to go out more than 7 feet. And also, we wouldn't put it out that much anyway, because we're only looking to cover the area where the tables and chairs are, which are pretty close up against the building. So it's probably going to go out just a few feet, but it potentially could go out to the point of the line where, in between where the tables and chairs are and where people are walking by. Now, the code only allows 2 feet. So that's something that would have to be considered by the trustees, whether this would be beneficial to allow it to go out beyond 2 feet. If we only go out 2 feet, I don't think it's going to serve the purpose of what we're trying to achieve. And as I said, if we can go out beyond that 2 feet area, it's retractable, so it's only going to be in that location during certain periods of time when it's necessary, and it would be helpful to people to have that protection. I call it protection. The other aspect of it is that the code, I think, only allows the height to be, has to be 7 feet above the sidewalk, and I think the way it's set up right now, it's a little bit over that. I'm sorry, it has to be 7.5 feet, and right now it's only 7. So we're about a half a foot off. I spoke to the East End awning today, who would potentially be installing this, and they said they may be able to work around that and be able to achieve the required distance. But even if they can't adjust that, even if it was 7 feet, I think that's high enough that it's not going to interfere with anybody that's going to be using the area. The other thing, of course, is that we would have insurance, and there would be an indemnification of the village, which is important. And again, this would be, under the code, would be by license. So if for some reason the trustees or the boards at any time felt like it wasn't accomplishing the protection that it's supposed to, or they didn't want to continue it, it's something that could end, which wouldn't, I mean, it's an expensive project, so it wouldn't be something that would be beneficial to us, but I understand that aspect of it. Now, in transparency, could we potentially accomplish this by putting umbrellas in the front, maybe, but I just don't think it would look good, which is why I've never done it. And I think that this is something that would really enhance the attractiveness and would be a benefit, and people would recognize it, because we get, very often, people are complaining. They're saying, I'm sitting here, the sun's in my eyes, where I gotta move, and so they're moving around. And sometimes the sun's hitting Main Street, sometimes it's hitting Library Avenue. So it's an issue a couple of hours during the day on each side. And I think this would potentially take care of that issue, and it would be an enhancement and an attractive feature. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions from board members?
I'm just curious how much room is on the side, because I know that's a little bit more narrow than the front walkway.
Yeah, that's a great question. I measured it off, and it seems to me that the area from the side of the building out to where that center line is also about 7 feet. Although we pull in, the tables and chairs are always against the building, because that makes it easier for everybody. And people want to sit next to the building, they want to sit in the middle of the sidewalk. So we pull it in as tight as we can. And so there's plenty of room for people to walk by on the Library Avenue side, the Main Street side. And the awnings, while they do technically project over village property in the sense that the sidewalk is village property, but it's 7 feet up, so it's not like it's standing on the sidewalk and where people are walking or in the way of anybody. And I think it could be really great.
Do you think 7 feet is a little low? I feel like, 7 foot is a doorway, and you're in open outdoor space walking down Main Street, I do feel like it is gonna be, I think 76 would definitely be better.
It would be, and I spoke to East End Awning this afternoon. I spoke to Carol Duffy, and she said they're gonna look into seeing if they could arrange it in a way that it would be higher up, which I think would be better. And I think under the code, it has to be at least 7.5 feet, and I think that we can try to accomplish that. If for some reason we can go even higher, we'll do that. It's all a matter of the look. But if it can only be 7 feet in terms of where they would put it, I'd have to report that back to you.
So, one of my concerns for this is there are trees just in the planted areas. And, they're still juvenile at this point, it's only been about 3 years since they're planted. They will grow further and more fuller over the time, as time goes on. But I just don't want this to cause a problem with the awnings versus the trees, and then the branches are hitting it. We're getting requests to cut the branches or something like that to accommodate the awnings. So I just wanted to mention that out loud while it's on my mind.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. I'm just trying to go by memory. I don't think that the trees and the branches from the trees are extending that far out, because we would be aware of that in terms of where people are sitting. And also,
Right now, they are there, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, as the trees do grow over a course of 5 or 10 years,
Mhm.
I'm looking long-term
Right.
versus the results. So.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's part of the advantage of having the retractable awning, because we can set it at any point. So we, for example, could set it at 5 feet, or set it at 7 feet, or set it so it can't go beyond that. And so if we see a situation where it shouldn't go that far, or there's trees in the way or whatever, we could either automatically set it so it can't go out that far, or when we press the button to push it out, we would only stop it at that point, so we wouldn't want it to interfere with anything.
So,
Umbrellas are allowed in the code.
yes, yeah, so, my concern is making exceptions to the code, because then we're kind of opening ourselves up to, well, you allowed it for this one, you said no to this one, because there's been similar requests, not for specifically awnings, but things that protrude out into the village's part of the sidewalk, where we've had to respectfully decline. So I don't know that it's a great idea to start making exceptions without changing the code or going down that route. And I mean, the umbrellas would definitely be considerable, less expense for you too, and accomplish the same thing. So
I think part of the issue there is that this is, again, by license, and there is a specific provision in the code dealing with awnings. And so the issue becomes, is it 2 feet or 5 feet? And since it's in the code to allow it, if it's retractable, then it's not going to be at that point all the time anyway. And there's a situation where, you could potentially allow it by license. It's not a permanent installation or something that's always going to be there. It's temporary, it's retractable, it's by license. It can be withdrawn by the trustees if they want to at any time.
What is the license is only 2 feet or something?
Yeah, so we put this in the code in August of 2022 because we were dealing with projections into the village-owned right-of-way. I guess it was originally envisioned like an awning over a window. They might stick out 18 inches, 2 feet. It kind of dresses up a building that's close to Main Street, doesn't have any setback. It wasn't really like, obviously if we wanted it for the seating, 2 feet doesn't accomplish anything. So,
I think it was initially, as Mr. Hammond said, for a window or for a doorway, just as to protect from the drip line or something. And as Mr. Rizzo mentioned, we have had informal approaches made with similar requests, and at that time we discouraged it, to be honest. I don't see this. Personally, I would not like to see this as multiplying down Main Street on both sides of the streets with different configurations, different sizes, up to 10 feet out into the village rights way. I can see it getting out of hand in my mind. So the board, at this point, I appreciate your presentation. We'll take it under consideration and get back to you unless anyone else have any other questions.
But I'd just like to add one other thing. Sure. Part of what pushed me in this direction is the whole aspect of what happened as a result of COVID, where we then had a situation where we might be able, by license from the village, be able to put tables and chairs on the front and the side as part of the allowable 28 seats. And so
COVID did impact us a great deal with the outdoor seating, and it has proven to be a very attractive, beneficial element to our dining situation on Main Street and elsewhere.
Right.
But again, I'm not sure this element of outdoor dining would be as beneficial, let's put it that way. So, any other questions from other board members? No?
No.
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll get back to you. Next thing we have on the agenda is St. Patrick's Day Parade application. Is there anyone here for the St. Patrick's Day Parade application? No. Okay. Yeah, he did. I assume, I didn't look at it in detail yet, but I assume it's the same as previous years. So I will check with Steve and go through it. If there are any discrepancies or questions, we can get back to him. I think we were reported that he denied the parade, so. We'll put this on the agenda for resolution for approval for the next meeting, and if there are any questions, I'll get to Steve and if you board members come up with any questions. Is there any objections from the board on that approach?
No.
Okay, good. So. Beach rules and rates, as promised, Mr. Angel prepared a minor amendment to the beach rules and rates that I think will satisfy what we discussed last time. Did you distribute those? No? And it's just on the first page, and there's one change.
I think there's 7, I don't know if there are enough.
Chris, you good? That's just the change in the basic rule in the chart. The chart reflects the rules, so if we have the rules intact and then, Mr. Rizzo said, he and, Deputy Mayor would like to attempt redoing the chart to make it more user-friendly, that's more than welcome. And if this minor change accomplishes what we were discussing, I think we're in good shape, pending the change in the chart.
Yes.
Just, the question was, if I recall it correctly, I think Chris, you raised it, that they had some ambiguity about, your place like the Morgan House where it was year round and they already gave out one permit or something like that. They wanted to charge everybody $40. Yeah, so what I did was I changed that to provide that residential property units that are apartment or something like that, everybody gets a permit. Right. It's just simple as that.
I think
was certainly the intent.
it was the residential units within a commercial entity was the conflicting or the.
I don't know how they interpret it.
Right. So, but I think that'll straighten this out.
What?
I would just call it dwelling, I would just add the word dwelling in front of unit, just dwelling unit, cause that's defined
Oh,
multiple
yes.
times in our code.
Okay, dwelling unit.
For a dwelling unit,
Dwell-
it's front of you.
Okay, dwelling unit's fine.
It might be a bit redundant,
In both-
it's
In
defined.
both,
It could be
changes.
occupying
That's how we write our COs too.
yeah, but you know, I think we have to keep residential in there. Yeah. Residential dwelling unit. It is redundant.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we should say per dwelling unit.
Yes.
In there twice.
Yes.
You might want to make that change and do a resolution next time, and as amended, it's okay if everybody approves it.
Well, I think what we'll do is, adopt the beach rules and the marina rules annually. So we'll adopt this new rule within the body of the rest of the rules and potentially the new chart.
The chart, I'm not sure if the chart follows whatever the rules are, it
It
doesn't really
does,
mean.
right. But I think if we amend the chart in any way, it would be prudent to adopt both, you know, and then put them up on the website, for perusal and,
Yeah, you're re-adopting the chart, even if you don't make changes there.
So a question came up a few times recently because we're getting into our rental season about what happens if you have 3 tenants. You have somebody here for the US Open in June, you rent it out to somebody else in July, and somebody else in August. And how does that work? With beach passes? I mean, I
Under this
think
code, I
they
think
could
everybody
pay.
has to get their own.
Well, they could pay for it, but what this says, this is, the way that I understand it from reading it is if you're the homeowner, you're entitled to 2 vehicle passes and you must give up 1 so that your tenant could have that 1. Like you don't get 6, with your house. So the question was, if the landlord's giving up 1 for the first tenant, how does the second tenant get 1 even if they're gonna pay or they
Well,
can't?
they can't hold.
You know what I'm saying? So that came up a lot just recently in real estate because it is like often you would have different tenants, the kids get out of school in June, some people come up from Florida, they end in May, so July is a busy month and August is like a different busy month. So how does that work?
I think the problem there.
Even if it's like, all right, I got a new car, I need a sticker, you have to go down and technically pay for the new sticker.
Yeah.
Fine, like, who's scraping the old sticker from that tenant's vehicle?
Well, So
That's
that's
where
the
that problem
thing.
becomes.
Yeah, and so that they just wanted me to ask because I think it's just confusing to tell, you know, if somebody's expecting, okay, I'm renting in the village in August, why would I not be able to go to Rogers Beach? And, you know, and they're willing to pay the $650, but then they just can't get one. So
They
how does
can.
that work?
I think they
It
get
says
one. I
a
think the question
seasonal
is-
renter of residential property in the village
Yes,
may obtain a maximum of one auto sticker for the duration of the seasonal rental.
but on here, on the chart, it says parking pass must be made available by owner. And I was understanding that as if you give up your second pass
No.
to your tenant so that they have it, or do you still
No.
get you get your one and then you still have your $40 second one and then
Yeah,
they
you
go
give that
for
to
this whenever
anybody,
they
but you
want?
don't give that to a seasonal, if you give it to a renter who's gonna only be there for 2 weeks,
Right.
you loan it under
Right.
this code. That person has it. The next person who's a seasonal renter has to make application, show a seasonal rental.
Okay,
whether
So if
it's
you
2 weeks or
have-
3 weeks, and pay the money and get the permit.
so if I have my beach pass for my house, I give my second one for $40 to my babysitter, and then I end up renting my house out to a family in July and a family in August. So then the family in July goes and pays their $650, the family in August goes pays their $650,
Under
and
this,
that's all okay.
Under the,
Is that
this
right?
is right, sure.
I just wanna make sure that's right.
Yeah.
The new renters, because you can get one as long as you're in our system with a
Right.
rental.
Yes,
The new renters will get one. I guess the old renters wouldn't lose one. I guess that's maybe
Yes.
the part.
yeah.
So if you come
well,
in.
they still have it, they can commute from Florida.
Right, yeah. The people renting in July could technically use it for the rest of the season, cause like Steve said, they're not gonna be checking,
Right.
oh, there's a new renter there. They
Right.
paid six hundred. The new people will never be frozen out as long as there's a rental agreement, cause we give the beach manager every week. And so they show up and say, oh, I'm so-and-so, I'm renting this house, and they have that list, and say,
Okay.
yeah, here you go.
Okay, that makes more sense, I will clarify that,
They're
because that
paying you
was.
a lot of money to rent your house, so you should.
I think
Well,
the assumption is if you're not
That's
renting,
my next thing, is that it's also assumed that the tenant has to pay for this. And this just came up 2 days ago. As long as it's paid, it doesn't really matter.
That's a non-issue.
I
Between
mean-
the homeowner and the tenant.
So that I
Who's
was
paying
told
for
that
it
it
doesn't matter.
says in the rules, and I said, I don't think it does.
Yeah, no, you know, so
Um,
it sounds like you probably.
Yes.
figure it out.
Yes, so,
Before the $40 second pass, it was in the rental. If you're renting out your house, you would get two, but instead of two, you'd only get one.
Yes,
So
that was the confusing
that does
part.
exist in the application still, I wanna say.
Yes, and that's what was confusing is then some people were saying, well, they could just get it and pay, and some were like, no, they have to give up one to then get one, so,
I don't think anyone actually gives up one.
I mean, they don't want to, so.
so in the amended chart, we can make sure that it's, it explains that or covers that situation.
Yeah, because when it says parking pass must be made available by owner, that just means your
The-
application.
To the renters.
Well, that's what I,
Yeah.
but we're not doing that,
a bit inaccurate, I think.
so we should cross that out?
I think it needs to be reworded. I think really,
Under this,
knowing the way this is written, it's like the owner is responsible to notify the village
Yes,
of the lease.
right,
So
right,
I think it's poorly written.
okay, so we'll amend that word, that was that one. And then another thing came up for the commercial, property, that both, just making it clear again, that both parking passes, the free one and the second one can go to an employee or a tenant, or just a tenant, or how does that, just to be clear with that, because sometimes, you know, store owners will give it to an employee who will really go to the beach and use the beach instead of, you know, the store owner themselves.
Well,
Thoughts on
the way this is written, it specifies tenant, so really, we'd have to just change the wording if we want it to be otherwise.
how does everyone feel about that?
Well, is it also the same as the residential renters? Is it if a building has multiple tenants? spaces, like different, one building has multiple rentable spaces, because each person.
I don't think that was it, I think it was just the owner of the commercial property. This is not, if you have an apartment above a store,
Yes.
you're a unit, you're a dwelling, you can make an application.
Yes.
If you own just a store, you get the possibility of 2 permits under this, that's it.
So if you own a store and you wanted to give 1 or 2 to an employee, to 2 employees, is that okay?
Would make much difference.
Okay.
I mean, it does say tenant, but
Well, that's what I mean,
Nobody
it
really
says
can.
tenant, but,
you get the potential for 2 for that store,
right,
even though you don't necessarily have a residence in the village.
right.
That's the benefit.
Yeah, I think we said kind of like, it doesn't really matter where it goes to, as long as you're there to give it to that person.
Yes, well, that's
So
right,
it's
because
the
when
same
it says tenant, it just is a little confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know, it's if you have employees and they're going every day.
I mean, I'll offer what was explained to me years ago when we were at 103 with separate entities. Like my building now, doesn't matter if I have 6 tenants.
Yeah.
I get 2 passes.
Yes,
Not each of my, because they're not dwelling.
yes,
Each of my tenants doesn't get passes.
right,
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Right, that's how we,
Yeah, I agree.
103 was different because they were different suites, so like each of those businesses
Yes.
got 2.
yeah,
And I would assume that would be the same as places on Main Street that have multiple units in a building. Tenant versus an employee, I've never actually really approached, and the only thing I would say is whatever it is, you just need to make sure they know that down at the beach.
well,
Like,
that's
is
what I
it
wanna make
that
sure.
I need to be present? Is it that I need to be present and I need to prove something to the
Yeah.
individual?
I think being present is probably, or,
Either that or
something
like the same
'cause-
thing with like a rental agreement, like for Erin,
yeah,
if she said, like, just says to the village, I've okayed this person and this person.
yeah,
Like, I don't put a second on my husband's, I put a second on my daughter's.
right.
I just
And
know
the
that I don't put it on
the commercial one, there is an application and you have to attach your your paid tax bill to it. So you're writing, I'm giving this one to this person, and here's a copy of my paid tax bill. So that's for commercial. So we just wasn't sure if it had to go to a tenant or if it can go to anybody. So, maybe we'll just take a
Well,
look at that.
you can say whether it's anybody, you could say somebody associated with a commercial
Yeah.
use on the property.
Yeah, like some,
You think about it
Yes.
and just pick whatever you want.
okay,
I mean, you can make it broad, you can say, just like the other one, you can say, give it to anybody, like somebody from Riverhead,
right,
or somebody's associated with the property, or a tenant.
okay.
But that's
And
a call that you guys can make.
Further clarification, the copy of the tax bill
Mhm.
should be sufficient.
Well, that's what I mean. So instead of having
Well,
to
not
go,
getting a copy of the tax bill and then somebody saying, well,
Yeah.
prove that you're the one who owns this business.
right.
Well, then that nonsense.
So like if I provide a copy of my paid tax bill and I'm signing it.
Right.
I mean, then I don't have to go and
Yeah,
meet them there.
Right,
So-
because same thing, you
Yeah.
forward it to the village, so the village can notify the beach.
Okay.
So instead of designated to the tenant, you're saying
Like
you
employee
can designate to
or
any,
somebody that's.
but you wanna say the owner of our commercial property may obtain too.
Yeah.
They can be, what is the word we're using, a sign, not a sign, designated,
Designated.
yeah, maybe designated.
And the second one is still $40.
Designated
That's
as
how it
the
was.
owner sees fit or.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be a tenant.
They can designate it to anybody they want to, really.
Right.
2, 1 for $40.
Yeah,
one for-
I got it. So if
Yeah.
it says maybe designated to tenant or tenants, it doesn't say maybe designated to property owner's daughter, so
Right.
that.
Yeah, but
And
I
then
know
that
it's the
just
same.
gets, it gets
I'm not sure
confusing
that that
down
would
at
ever
the
work out.
beach.
I understand.
Yeah,
But it should just say you can designate as they see fit.
and then that way when they go to the beach, it's not like, well, you're not a tenant or I don't wanna
Right,
have
just-
any.
I think it's on the business owner to notify the beach.
Yes.
I've authorized this person and this person.
Yes, and the second one is $40.
And that's why it's good for the person to be there. 'Cause
Yeah,
Right.
that way it's not even a
there's
discussion.
not a question, yeah.
That's the best.
May I ask something at this point, or you wanna wait till the end? I just have a question on.
the topic. If it's this topic.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's say I'm not assigning it to anybody, I'm just a commercial owner, I just wanna clarify. Because I just heard something about an application, which the only thing I had ever seen is if I'm authorizing someone else. There was paperwork I had to provide.
Yes.
I'm not authorizing someone else. what is the requirement for commercial owner to provide that they own the commercial establishment? If I'm just getting it for
tax-
The tax bill.
Tax bill, if you own your property, yeah, the tax bill, that's it.
Yeah, but the reality is that a lot of the tax bills are in the computer already, so
Right,
you see that
right.
when you go down there.
They have,
And that pays the tax bill with my mortgage, so I
okay,
would never actually have the paid receipt like I do for my private residence. I have a paid receipt, obviously.
right,
So as a practical matter, if you're in their system, they don't really care about the tax bill because they see it right on their laptop.
Yeah.
in a majority of cases, it should be very easy. It should be, because of the computerization and accessibility, so,
Yes, computerization was supposed to help the process.
yes, it was, yes. As long as the computer's working, that helps too, so. All right. Anything else on that topic, board members? No? Okay, good. So I think, February meeting might be a little bit early for the development of the new chart, is that correct? So should we shoot for March approval of these, or, because March is kind of pushing it? I don't mean to put any pressure on you, but,
He knows we're not here in February. Okay,
I
Let's
think
see.
we
I
can
think we can
accomplish
do
this,
it.
but, yeah.
yeah, we could do it, sure.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
positive thinking. We'll put it on for resolution in the February meeting. If you develop issues,
And February
let us know.
5th is our meeting.
February 5th is our meeting, yes. Okay?
Okay,
All right, good. Got it. Next topic is multifaceted and multi-leveled. That is the aspect of paid parking, parking code, committee establishment in relationship to the proposed building moratorium on in B1 because of the zoning restrictions and current zoning parking code. We need to amend that because in my mind, in a lot of people's minds, it's antiquated and non-functional. And also in connection with the flow code. So what's happening here is that we're essentially, in my mind, establishing by resolution that the next meeting, February 5th meeting, a building moratorium for the B1 zone if it involves parking or flow restrictions of some sort. Am I correct, Mr.
Yeah,
Angel?
well, we propose two moratoriums. The parking one is for all of B1, and it limits the ability of the zoning board to grant variances for off-street parking until we finish a study. Because under the current code, if a variance is granted, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but under the current code, if a variance is granted for, let's say, a space or 2 spaces or 10 spaces in the B1 district for off-street parking requirements, the person can meet that variance requirement by paying $6,500 a space. And if you think about it, if somebody needed 10 spaces because they wanted to expand their property on Main Street, and a whole bunch of people did that, that would not solve, the money collected at $6,500 a space would really not solve anything in the village, would not create a fund that could buy $1 million or $2 million piece of property. So rather, and it was generated by my partner, Tony, because people were making applications. One application came in, or at least was discussed, for an expansion on Main Street that wanted a variance for 19 off-street parking spaces. And the thought of a whole bunch of people coming in, especially with the potential for the sewers increasing capacity, it just created havoc with the parking. And so we put a moratorium on the planning, we suggested a moratorium on the zoning board granting variances for off-street parking in the B1 district where most people don't have very much parking. So that's number one. And I don't remember, do you remember, Ralph, how long that moratorium is? It's like
6
That's 6
year,
months
6
with
months,
3
okay.
month
And then the other one,
two of them are
the other one is over those properties in B1 who are in phase 1 of the sewer system. And under the agreement that we have with the county, the connection agreement, we're not supposed, the village is not supposed to approve any use changes that would increase density. And that's caused a problem for you to some extent because you're not subject to, the zoning is not subject to that agreement. Right?
Yes.
And so what we did was we suggested a moratorium that sort of tracks, does in effect track the connection agreement and we put a limitation on applications to change or increase use in the phase 1 area of B1 until the time expires under the agreement. And this is a complex problem because we have to force people to sign up at this point or connect to the system so that we can start an 18-month test period before we can determine whether people can do expansions. Is everybody following me?
Yeah.
And so that's the second moratorium. And to add on to that, I sent out nasty letters to all the people who didn't connect. And it worked for probably 60% of them, right?
Yeah.
There are just a few left that I will have to sue, probably starting next week. I'll have to sit down and draft complaints and start a few lawsuits. But we started out with, 12? We went down to 8. I don't have my list with me. I left it in the paper. There's probably like 3 outliers, 4 maybe. Yeah. We're getting there.
That's good, that we're making progress. So the point being is, for the board's information, there'll be resolutions for these
They're
moratoriums.
actually local laws.
Yes.
We have to adopt a local law in both cases.
For
Right, so the
moratorium.
resolution would be to
Actually,
adopt a local law.
we'll do the public hearings first.
There's a public hearing next, that's gonna be noticed for the next meeting.
Okay. And then
Two
if
public
there are, if we are in agreement at that point and don't receive a lot of negative input from the public hearing, I think we'll be in a position to pass it right away, I would hope. And along with that, I'll be looking for volunteers for a parking committee to work on this, to solve this issue as best we can. Tony Pasca, our village attorney, has volunteered to be on it. Brad said he would be on it. I'm encouraging the chief, even though he just heard about it today, to be on it. And a couple of trustees.
I'll be on it. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be easy. Chris is. will be on the parking. Well, we can't have 3. But Rob has a different, Rob has a different aspect. I think, of it. So,
I
That's
just have a
good.
question about that though. So I understand why we would do it. It's kind of taking a step back to say what's our master plan here for the parking. But at the same time, the people that did hook up now have to wait more than 18 months to change their use, and that's hard. Like, I think, having we're a seasonal community, and I just think they already put in their applications, and then to wait 2 years pretty much to change
Chris,
it. I just want to talk that out real.
Yeah, we don't really have a choice. We entered into a connection agreement and this came up sort of
With
at
the
the end of the
county.
process.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't sign a connection agreement until we agreed. They wanted 24 months, we said a year, and I think we compromised at 18. Is that true, Ralph?
Yes, they wanted, we were thinking one season would be
Yeah.
enough to assess the situation.
Right.
Between the projected flow and the actual flow. There's a discrepancy, but we don't know which way it is or what it is until we're actually connected.
Yeah,
So they wanted we thought one season would be adequate when we were negotiating
And it
this
has to
contract.
be 100% compliance.
that's what the agreement says.
That's what the agreement says.
And when
They want 2 seasons, so
Mhm.
we agreed on 18 months to encompass 2 seasons,
Right.
hopefully. And as a supplemental suggestion that has come up, and I think it's worth pursuing, is to see if we have 90% compliance.
Mhm.
And we have one outlier that's not connected, if we could approach the county and have just that projected flow included along with the actual flow and come up with an accurate flow calculation or very accurate flow calculation, I think that I
Yeah,
would be willing to approach the county to go
I mean,
forward with that, but.
I really don't, it's been public already. We've talked about that, that was Brad's suggestion, but one of the problems is one of the people who has not connected is a big user. It's, Margarita
And
Grill
how to-
Complex
Yeah.
has not done anything. And it'd be very hard to go hat in hand to the county to say, one should disregard this agreement of ours when a big user has not been hooked
Yeah.
up. So we gotta get that hooked up before we can start begging, I think.
So if we have,
Wasn't that our
if we
conclusion,
have
Brad?
our, if we have our, if we have our flow, like, you know, we should have a general idea of what our flow is and what
Well, we
our
do.
capacity is. Just saying, if it's like
Way under.
way under it,
Or
you
if
know,
it's-
then
or if
it
it's
should be
already over it,
or
what's
if
the
it-
point?
correct. So if it's already, if it's way under or already over,
Be nice
like
to have
we
a
should
gauge.
know
Yeah.
where
Right.
we are, and even if, when he hooks up, that would be great. But, I don't wanna hold anyone up for 2 years, so as long
Well,
as
we
we
have-
can continue the
We have the
conversation,
ability right now, we can ask the county, what's the current flow?
right,
And we can do that, and we can say,
just curious
last
if
summer's
that's,
flow, I mean,
Yeah.
we can find that out.
I mean, even after this summer, cause now
Yeah.
more people will be hooking up, and if we're getting close to
Right.
that 90%
Oh,
compliance.
we will,
then-
if we're successful in hooking up the big users, the patio says that they're gonna be hooked up, they've got people lined up, supposedly that'll happen within a couple of months. If we can get Margarita Grill this summer, because it's a 60,000 gallon per day capacity that was based upon usage, not usage of water, not
Right.
not sewer flow.
Could be irrigation.
Yeah, but, we should be able to tell this summer, especially if those 2 big users are hooked up,
Mhm.
whether we're gonna make it or not.
And that corner property that's undeveloped, that was included,
It's
And-
included in the district, I don't know whether they allocated any flow to it, do you know whether they did or not? I don't know.
I don't wanna say.
Yeah, that was H2M's, or the H2M came up with the flow calculations and the flow projections.
I'm just wondering, cause it's not developed, and we have people that wanna move forward that are developed.
Right.
How we, you know, gauge that,
So that's the only vacant parcel in the district that could be developed, I think.
but it's a big one. So if it was holding a lot of flow, like they were reserving, I'm just curious, I don't know.
I'm not a board member. So, I'm not coming to any conclusions, but in the downtown and the sewer district, if it's a restaurant, if it's a new restaurant or an increasing restaurant, it's a special exception, so it comes to the trustees. If it's a dwelling unit above a commercial, it comes to the trustees as a special exception as well. The restaurants, it's the biggest parking user as per our last parking study, and it's a way to increase the flow. I don't understand why a moratorium is necessary if the agreement between the mayor and the trustees and it won't get bottled up at that special exception stage, because we have these site plans that go on for, you know, applications take 6 months, a year, 18 months, 2 years. Those applications don't get made, they don't get processed, we don't talk about it, or do they just process and not get approved, or do we just kind of?
The way the moratorium was proposed, it would not stop people from making an application, it would stop an approval of a change, of a increase in use.
Right, but I'm saying that most of those uses come to the trustees for special exception anyway, so isn't that, aren't you capturing it there?
Like, we would just say, no, we can't, because we have a
Yeah,
contract.
except that Brad, people have come to you looking for things and you have gone forward with them, and I thought this was something that you wanted to protect, your position, so you didn't
I
have to.
thought the zoning board was conflicted at one point with granting variances,
For things that we weren't allowed to.
that, for parking.
Yeah, it does, definitely becomes a conflict, because there's an application, I have to process it if it meets the code, and sometimes they go and they get approved by these agencies, so it's.
See, part of the problem is the health department doesn't know what DPW agreed to. So they, right?
Yep.
They grant an approval for an increase in density, which may have a negative effect on the other people in the district. And they grant it in violation of the agreement that we entered into for their benefit. So, you know, we're dealing with this bureaucracy that creates a problem. And so we're trying, what we proposed was sort of, let's hold off until we can get the information so that we deal with it equitably rather than allow some people to take advantage of perhaps a mistake in the system.
So people are still going to put in their application and go
That's their
through the
choice.
boards. But I'm just, because I've been through the process before where, you know, it takes a fair amount of time. I think there's discussions to be had, so just thinking about that, if they put the application in and they can go through, okay, now your planning board, your zoning board, your this board, that's like 6 months or so. By that time, I'm hoping we'd have more people hook up, like just to try to move things along instead of them not applying because there's a moratorium. Like I don't know if
The
that's right.
proposed, I don't have it with me, but my recollection of the proposed language was it didn't prohibit applications and consideration of applications. It
Okay.
prohibited him from giving a final permit, and it prohibited the planning board from giving a final approval.
So final approvals,
The
but they could
approval.
still discuss.
I don't think we call it an approval, I believe.
Okay. So they can still discuss and go back and make their edits and change and.
Yeah, but you know, to some extent, there may be a risk. If it
It
turns
is
out we've already
definitely a
taken
risk.
61,000 gallons of,
Well, that's why I'm curious if we're, you know, the applications that are in, which I don't know what they are, but if what our flow is currently, how much room we have or don't have, that might be helpful for the boards to know so that they can.
I don't know.
We can-
I'm not sure you can get probably a reading, but I wonder whether
They're
they have.
continuous 24/7.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
So we know exactly how much flow we are sending out every single day. I just don't have regular access to it. I'll request it from the county.
No, but could you go back and say, what was our flow on August
I could,
15th?
you could look back to 365 days.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
just
they actually
curious
do
what
a
last year.
calculation every day?
Correct. It goes through a computer generated flow.
Right.
Yeah. And the biggest are the restaurants, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
What about the packs? They just have bathrooms, even though they're large.
We haven't connected.
Yeah.
They're in the process.
That could be a very large user, but they don't have shows like super
Yeah.
often.
There are chances that people hooking up some pumps to the system.
Yes, I was gonna ask you about that
That's.
because that was something, because of just the groundwater, right?
We had one property hookup and they were giving us about 46,000 gallons.
Yeah.
One
Yes.
single building.
And that was surprising.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Waterfall at that point.
Yeah, that was an illegal cross connection. It was not malicious, but it was.
Yeah.
Unintentional.
It was surprising that the system got overwhelmed by
Within hours.
within hours. Yeah.
And you generally know how much flow a restaurant would have, like generally, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's averages and
Yeah.
you would know when something's seems out of place
And,
for the most
and
part.
when that was corrected, it dropped back down to like 10,000.
Right.
Yes.
We had never heard from them since then, because let's not forget, we had 66% of the property owners downtown just connect willfully without a lot of coercion. And no one, except for that cross connection, there was never a, hey, you're a little high, or this was, we never got any,
Yeah.
no
No red flags.
alarms or
The systems work better when there's more flow around.
Yeah, yeah, right? Because it processes better.
Unless it's some,
Then it doesn't.
My only question is a moratorium is, when all the moratoriums get released, how do you categorize who gets first priority in, I guess that's something that has to be figured out.
Limited resource, you have to figure that out towards the end.
But we still didn't solve the parking.
Well, that's what the committee is.
Well,
It kind of goes together in a way because
yes.
Yeah.
because you need a certain amount of parking spaces to expand what you want to do.
Right.
So they kind of all in one.
That's why I said this is kind of a morphed thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more the reason
Related to
for,
a great deal. So,
I think the flow is kind of the easier part, it's like,
and some, to your point, at some point, the way the system is up there now in Nebraska that we're sending, theoretically, we're gonna, as we're busy and there is some expansion or there isn't, theoretically, we're gonna come to a point where they are at the max, and then if we're sending applications there, it would not be approved by that agency, the DPW, who's the sewer agency. Because they would say, well, our constructed works are at this threshold, and we need to keep it some extra capacity in there, otherwise they run afoul of a DEC permit, and that would be the stop.
And then it's
If
just
we ever get
nobody. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody.
And then
will get
nobody expands, it's almost like you're back to
Yeah.
the way it was before the sewer, where your land is your land, you only have so much density, and that's what.
right, and then that would impact phase 2 and phase 3,
Yeah.
Until such time as
all
phase
those
2.
things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's another question I have for phase, if you wanna change your use and we're in phase 2, but you were part of phase 1, how does that flow get calculated?
See, theoretically, well, it has yet to be determined how phase 2 and 3 are processed. We would hope that we can negotiate with the county and expand Gobreski once again. But there is an outlying chance, the only way we can do phase 2 and 3 is to build our own
Expand,
plant.
yeah.
And where and how, all has to be determined yet. So our best shot is to approach the county, expand Gobreski. I think Gobreski, I've been under the impression Gobreski has the ability to be expanded even more because of new technology. And we had some of the new technology available when we first expanded it, but Suffolk County DPW didn't want to go with that technology. We went with another technology because they had it in their other entities and were servicing it and could service it and all that, those kinds of things. But now they're starting to morph into the new technology, so there are a lot of moving parts, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And our best shot is to negotiate with Suffolk County another expansion. And we do have the pipe underground leading up to Gobreski from phase 1 is oversized intentionally to accommodate some of this. We did look to the future in that aspect. So hopefully that's the way it'll go.
Okay.
Okay? All right. I'm just tired thinking about it.
Can I ask a timeframe question, which I guess is really for the attorney?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask a timeframe question, one for the attorney? I forget about 2 or 3.
Okay.
And not including the evaluation period from the county, whatever they decide that needs to be. What's the kind of timeframe for making these last holdouts? Like, I know you said you have to
Oh.
do them. I mean,
There is no time frame. The ones that are really holdouts, I'm gonna sue. And, it'll be up to the court to see whether we compel them to do it promptly or whether they'll comply after I sue them.
so, I mean, it could be years or,
Yeah, it's not years. I mean, there's no defense.
okay, that's what I'm just saying, like, it's not.
It's
Right.
Everybody has been noticed at this point,
Right.
and there are penalties prescribed within there, but lawsuits on anyone who
And
continues to hold that.
from my understanding, our code says you have to hook up if you're in the district. And from what I understand, that is always a public health requirement. If there's a sewer system, you get rid of the septic system. So it's not like
It
it's
would be rather
like we're
enforceable, not.
creating something new. That's Suffolk County's system, and I believe that's generally the system all around. That's my understanding, right?
Yeah.
If there's a sewer system, you can't have septic systems. You have to hook up if it's available to your property.
Yes, in my previous experience not here, it's more like expansions and new uses, those are the ones that connect. It's not always retrofitting, that's not
What do you mean? Like if you have a commercial building
yes,
in an area that is now part of a sewer system, and you had a septic system, I don't think you have an alternative to continue with your septic system. You have to connect. That's generally the rule.
sure, except I've had experience in Huntington sewer districts and experience in Riverhead with sewer districts, and there are definitely sewer installed, working, buildings still not connected for years and years and years.
Well,
So,
it's a matter of enforcement.
sure, I just,
Well, cause it's
And
working.
in those
If it's
situations,
working, people don't always wanna spend
those-
to
yeah,
change
but-
it.
it's
They
also
probably
not,
have to get
it's not on the significant watershed on the south shore of Long Island, this is more like in the north, although.
and it's also not a situation, it's where Riverhead controls the sewer district.
Right. We
And it's not here, the county has made a deal with the village, so the county is the one that has imposed this obligation on us. In Riverhead, you have Riverhead Town Board, and Riverhead Sewer District, and they're sort of controlled by the same entity, so they can look the other way a lot easier than we can.
I'm very happy with the amount of compliance we have. There's always gonna be one or two outliers. Some people you have to have your attorney get involved, and I think we're gonna get most of those, but there'll probably there might be one or two or even three outliers, and hopefully the county will be able to estimate what that kind of flow looks like for this season, so this season would count. That's kind of the way we're looking at it.
Yeah,
We're hopeful for that.
yes.
Yes.
At least started.
Right.
Okay. Anything else on that one? All right.
So,
The next one, it's all fixed. Next one, electric bikes and scooter code. Chief, I know that you're aware, and we're aware that the county recently changed their code, and we were looking at local codes. And I was hoping to get your input as to if you think the county's change will affect things enough that we can just monitor things for this season and see if enforcement will help the situation, or do you think we should pursue moving forward with a local code that's more strict in some regard?
I think we can try and see how the county code comes into play, and a lot of it is enforcement on our side. So we can let the summer go and see how it plays
So
out.
communication with the school is gonna be key as well.
We do a lot of community outreach on this. I think what we're seeing is, and I won't get too into it, but a lot of parents aren't aware of what the laws are. They're not aware of what e-bikes are good, and also the difference between an e-bike and an all-electric bike. So I think, not just myself, I know Chief Kiernan, his department has really been out there, engaging the community and getting these notices out there. So I think we're starting to get a little bit of a grab on it, on really making the parents aware, because they're the ones who are purchasing these.
Right.
So with the inaction of the county code, and I think, like I said, some of the information we passed along to the community, we're gonna hope for a little bit more compliance this year.
Okay. Any board member have any other input on that? Does that seem reasonable? I would think it would be at this point.
Yep.
Okay. Village Hall Police Entry, that's the door, the back door that the police officers use, and the electric upgrade for the police department, particularly in the area where they are recharging a lot of batteries and to upgrade the electric capacity for recharging because we're using a lot more batteries than we ever anticipated 20 years ago when the building was built. We have the two quotes that Matt got for us for those two projects. Matt, you wanna add anything to that? It's been distributed to the board via email, and I have one here as well. Do you have anything you wanna add to that?
Just the first one's panel labeling, that one, when they built this building, for whatever reason, the panel sheet doesn't necessarily match up with the exact circuits. So while they're working on the electric, there's a possibility we may have them do some of that work as well, but that's time material separate from the estimate.
Okay,
I don't know how involved that's gonna be or how involved they need to get, but that might be something they do.
okay.
Which is not included with this.
Just that part, the other parts are all included in the electric.
Right.
Because that's a very, tedious process.
Yes, and I think at this point it's necessary for safety.
I think.
Yes. Any questions from the board on that? Okay, so resolution on the next meeting for that. And also the entry, the doorway, there's another quote for that. I had it here somewhere. You have it, Matt?
Yep.
Okay. So the entry door to fix it, so total, that's $7,417. And the entry has been giving problems for 10 years.
At least, Mayor.
More.
That door is on the south side of the building, and before we installed the awnings for all those years, from 2006 just this year, that entry took a beating from the weather. It was been leaking down into the detective's office, it's almost crumbling all the time, we're down there trying to vacuum that up all the time. We've had problems in the summer, it's on the direct heat, that door swells, we can't get in, then it's not latching properly. So it's been problematic for a long time.
Long time. Yes. So I think that would be a prudent thing to do as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Any questions?
No
No? Okay, another resolution will be had on the meeting for that one. Next one, EFC loan update. So with the completion of our sewer project and our loan coming due and all the grant money coming through, shuffling through my papers here, it's here somewhere. As we've discussed previously, we currently have a loan for $1,935,957. Denise has gone through an enormous amount of paperwork, thank you Denise, and achieved probably reimbursement from the grant of $741,058.08 of that amount. However, we don't know when we will get that. I mean, she's put the paperwork in, it can take months, maybe a year to get that money. That will leave us with an obligation of about $1,194,000. See, it's right here. On her post. So, in my mind, we have two choices. Either we borrow the full amount of $1.9 million, or we just borrow the outstanding amount, the $1,194,000, in hopes that the grant money comes through within a reasonable time. So the potential interest, again, this is a 5-year term loan that we didn't want to go, we discussed this earlier, we didn't wanna go for a 10-year term. The rate at this point, but they're not guaranteeing the rate, would be 2.1%, which isn't too bad for 5 years. There is a $10,000 fee that we can either roll into the loan amount or pay up front. That's our choice. So.
There was no penalty for prepaying the grant money from still, right?
You can prepay. Once you enroll, once we decide to either do, you can't prepay it.
You can, but
Well, you can, but you still have to pay the interest.
Because it's a pool loan
Yes.
with other
We're being
municipalities.
put into a pool of a loan.
So the money costs us X no matter what.
Right.
Exactly. Once we decide how much money, we're gonna borrow for 5 years, we're paying all the interest. That's it. Even if you pay it early. So there's no advantage in my mind to pay it early.
What percentage of the 700 and change of those grants do you think would come through?
We're getting the whole,
Like in the next few months?
we're getting the whole 741, that's the percentage.
But are they like DASNY grants that take forever? Like, are there? Okay,
Easy, right? It's a different grant.
so it's like, we would think it would be here in a few months?
I would think.
Okay.
I could see what the
Checks
last
in the
one
mail.
was, but.
Well, cause some grants you
Checks
just
in
know
the
are
mail.
gonna take 3 years or never, and then some you know you could get
Right.
quicker, so I don't know if it, you know.
Yeah, it's not as aggravating as the DASNY grant from the Main Street project that we have, and it's been completed for 5 years, and
That's
we have
what I
yet
hear
to get
about.
the money.
That's
So-
my fear.
I mean, I did submit everything and he never answered me, so that's not a good
Yes.
sign.
So it's a DEC grant, so it's probably more.
Okay, so it's more
reliable
accessible,
than
yeah,
more accessible.
What was, told we don't do
yeah.
the full amount, what was the, this conversation was a while, what was the risk? Like,
It's either
Well, we would lay out the 742,000.
that.
Yeah. So it's $1,194,000 or the $1,935,000 are the two choices.
When do we have to decide
This meeting. We, see, the thing is, we're, as soon as we pull the trigger, if we want to borrow the money, we get thrown into the pool. And the pool is with all the other municipalities that are going for loans.
that? Mm-hmm.
And depending on the pool and the interest rate and the demand or whatever you wanna call it, that's when they establish the actual interest rate, which right now is 2.1. It could be different by the time the pool's put together and they gather all the information and assign the interest
I
rate.
guess the question is, does it put a major strain if we had to lay the money out and wait several months?
We have 4.2 million in unreserved fund balance that we would have to take out of, but then replenish after.
Denise, are you allowed to take, if we, let's say we got the grant money, are you allowed to put it in an interest-bearing account?
Yeah, up to a certain amount.
So that would basically wash out the interest you're paying?
Well, we would, yeah, if we elect the lower amount, we'll be using our reserves to pay off the balance of the loan. And then when we get the grant money, we'll replenish our reserves. That's the way I look at it.
What I was saying, is you did the full amount though, and then whatever that came in, that you kept that. You can cancel that interest that we're paying is what I'm getting at.
7.2.
So that would increase our reserves by that amount, but then we're paying interest on it, yes, that's
The
true.
742 would be part of the, if we only went, if we went with a smaller amount, or even a larger amount, the 7.2 is from the grant, so we wouldn't be under the obligation of not, being able to,
You don't have to go right there anyway.
interest on that.
Like you wouldn't be able to get interest, that's what I'm
You
saying.
can,
Okay.
because it's the grant money, it's
Yeah.
not the bond, like if you got the 1.9 and you put it in, it's a limited amount, but if the 742, we can put in, and, cause the 1.9 we have to pay off, we have to pay off our debt.
So I realize that.
So the 742, you can put in an interest-bearing account, so you'd be getting the interest
From that.
anyway that we're paying.
That's what I'm getting at.
That's what I'm saying,
Mm.
yeah.
So
So
it
basically,
cancels the interest out.
It cancels the interest out, because it will be getting interest by just sitting in the bank, because we're not replenishing it. I mean, we are replenishing it, but
Yeah.
that's, yeah, I
It's
agree.
complicated.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't.
So the interest, you're saying the interest we're paying is balanced out by the interest we're getting back?
Yes.
So,
Once we get the money, yes. So you're thinking we should pay or borrow the full amount?
if we're worried about not getting in time,
Yeah.
it won't cost the village any money anyway.
Yeah.
If we did that.
Because we have it in the reserves, and then when we get that, you put that in the interest-bearing account, and that will go right back. That's what I'm thinking, I mean, right?
That's what I would do myself.
Yeah.
If I was in this situation.
Are there any restrictions on doing that, like, cause
There's laws about how much interest you can get on them.
does EFC prohibit you from taking the money and putting it in a bank account?
Well, the
Like,
EFC,
have the grant money?
see, the EFC loan,
You would pay off the
way
EFC.
back when, we got the grant money and we were awarded the grants. We started the project, we started paying bills right away. To pay the bills, we borrowed money from the EFC to pay the bills temporarily until the grant money comes through. So it's all
So just to
not getting there with the money.
Chris, if we go for the 1.9, we won't see any of that 1.9. That's gonna be used by EFC to pay off the debt, right?
Well, we're gonna borrow it from them, yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that money you borrow will never come into our hands. It will retire the temporary loans.
Correct.
The issue is if we take less, we're gonna have to pull 741,000 out of reserves
Yes,
to retire those temporary loans.
that portion
And
of the
wait for the,
yes.
there's not gonna be anything that's gonna go into an account. The way I see it.
But when we get the money, the grant money, right? So he's saying when we get that grant money and we put it in
Oh,
the
I see.
account,
But at the
then
end
the
of it,
interest
Yes.
is gonna.
Whenever the grant comes, I mean, we're
Then that-
borrowing all the money now and
Yes.
later the
Well, the
grant.
grant would go into reserves, you do whatever you want, yeah.
Yes.
I can't swear.
This fiscal year, we're paying 66,000 off of it. We have to make two payments of 33,000, so. deduct that.
Right, because of the timeline, we have to pay 33,000 in February and then another 33 in April because it's an off-cycle payment, as they call it.
But we budgeted
Because-
for 33,000, so.
Yeah.
We
So,
just have to come up with it.
I mean, I feel like we have the budget, it's simple to pay it.
Mhm.
I don't know that number, if it's not gonna hurt us, I would say pay it, if it's less complicated, I would imagine, you don't think about it.
And you don't have to also, then we don't have to stress about when it's coming in, like it is gonna come in and we want it to come in tomorrow, but if it doesn't, yeah, they're paid, it's paid and we can move
Yeah.
forward. What is the interest on our accounts now? High threes. That makes sense then.
so we good? Okay.
What are we doing?
You go on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I should mention a complicating factor that we're obligated to do, because when we establish the map and plan, if we bond the amount, which is what we're doing for 5 years, it's a 70-30 split with the phase one, beneficiaries pay 70% of the loan, and it's on their, it'll be a tax bill kind of thing, and the rest of the community pays 30% of the bond amount, the bonded amount. So, it's a mathematical exercise.
Does the board want to just
They're-
disregard it?
Well, I think this is done all the time elsewhere, and it's a new experience for me, as to how they do it. And it happens all the time apparently. So it's reflected in the tax bill, in some manner.
We may have to pass some resolutions.
We can find out from our bond counsel,
Yeah,
how
we
that
certainly set it
operates.
up that way, but there were so many grants that came in.
Right.
It appeared at some point that it may not even be necessary to
Right.
borrow anything.
So you're saying the 1.9 is going to be divided 70-30 in the tax bill?
Yes, essentially, the paying off of that loan, that bond will be divided 70-30. Yes. Okay? Going for the full amount? I told Robert I'd tell him tomorrow. And the resolution will be on February 5th meeting. Okay. So we're going in the pool for the full amount. All right. The next one should be quick, I hope. We have beach concession bids, and we also have our paddleboard kayak concession bids. They're two separate entities. Previously, we've had a $10,000 minimum on the beach concession bid, and I'm just reaching out to see if anyone sees the need to change that. And I think the paddleboard kayak was a $2,000 minimum. Paddleboard kayak has consistently been Sean Met for several years, and he ups it every couple of years by a couple $100. But that's up to him. You know, it's a bid package. So I would like to be able to, I'll put it in the meeting resolution, putting those two concessions out to bid. Anyone see a need to change the minimums or any of the contractual obligations or anything?
Is the beach concession 1 or 2 years?
It's a 2-year option.
Okay.
Most bidders like that because they make a certain investment.
Mhm.
And one season isn't enough to assess how things are going for most people.
Right.
So they like the 2-year option.
Who's been in there over, I know, who's been in there over the past, say, 6 years, like, who are the different people we've had there, cause I never go to the concession there.
We did it at one.
We did it ourselves at one point with the village hired a chef.
Yeah.
And we paid the chef, and we paid for the food, and we paid for all the employees, and we paid all those things, and it was stress on our clerk, who was not Denise at the time, but Liz found it very difficult to manage all the bills and all the things that were coming in.
And there was not much benefit out of it.
And we were trying to break even, and I think we kind of broke even.
Okay.
And then we had our most recent,
Yeah.
Amanda running it for the last 2 years, and it did not go well. But that's, I think, hopefully we'll get a responsible bidder, and that will improve the situation. And as soon, I've spoken to a couple of other trustees, as soon as this goes out to bid, if you know of anyone that might be interested in bidding on the concession, please reach out to them, because the more bids we get, the better, obviously. I guess I'll share that, Amanda, we had a $10,000 minimum. Amanda bid $16,000 in both years. So, that resulted in her being awarded the bid. The first year of her tenure was a little rocky, and the second year was even more rocky. So,
And we never got paid for that.
we got paid a portion of that. There's an outstanding amount that she owes us. So, yeah.
That does also help with paying, making the beach run, because it is a business, but it's not a business, but it's
Right.
a,
And we do have there are guidelines for the menu, but it's not, it's an individual's business and an individual's, and we would like them to be open as much as possible. So, every weekend, unless it's raining, those kind of stipulations are in the bid package.
do we wanna discuss, like letting them sell sunblock and buckets?
People have brought that up in the past. As a matter of fact,
we
at
could
one
sell
point,
it.
we were selling
That's-
sweatshirts and
Yes.
t-shirts and hats, and we did that, and it didn't do so well.
I
We're
would
not
think it
these
would.
store people are really not good restaurateurs.
No.
I'll tell you that.
Well, the convenience stuff, you know, if you go to Pondcrowd, they've got it set up. They've got the boogie boards, the lotion, the t-shirts. I mean, it's just really like those like foam footballs and things that are maybe $10, but they cost 50 cents. You know, so I just don't know if that makes sense to bring up again.
Well, if the concessionaire, whoever gets it, is interested.
Yeah.
We have had other concessionaires bring up, they wanted to be open at dinner.
Yeah.
And I think this board would be open to suggestions and other opportunities if the concessionaire expressed an interest.
Yeah.
Or had a proposal of some sort. The one, I did speak out to one person and I did say that there's no alcohol allowed at this time. And if there is a dinner time hour, parking permits would have to come into play, some kind of something would have to accommodate. We would have to make allowances of some sort for it to be successful. And then music at the beach going until 11 o'clock. I mean, those are all things that have been presented in the past. So we have to kind of take it as it goes and see what happens. We do want a successful, enjoyable concession, but we don't want to get buried either.
If 2 years is not a requirement, it's just an option, do you do something almost like a lease where you have, it's this much for 1 year and it's this much for 2 years?
Like
It's
an
in their best
increase
interest.
of 3%.
It's in their best interest to do the 2 years.
Oh, you're saying 10,000 minimum for the first year and then 8,000 maybe for the second year? Is that what you're saying? Or
Probably
12?
Yeah, make it in their best interest to take the 2 year option.
Yeah.
First year is gonna be more money, optimism.
So explain it again, Chris.
So you're going to renew your lease, right? You have a lease, let's say your lease is $5,000.
Right.
Your lease renewal comes up. The property owner says, you wanna renew for 1 year, it's gonna be 6,000. You wanna renew for 2 years, it's only gonna be 5,500 per year. You know what I mean? So basically, you make it in their best interest to take the 2 year option. Okay. So you wanna do 1 year, it's 12,000. You wanna do 2 years, it's 10,000. You know, really.
The way it's set up now is that preseason, they pay a third.
Yeah.
Mid-season, a third, and then towards the end of the season, the last third. And that's where we got hung up this last time, was in the last payment. And there is a deposit, so we can structure that as well, if you would like to structure it differently, we can entertain that.
I'm wondering if maybe lowering the rate might attract more people. We haven't gotten a tremendous amount of bidders over the past 2 years.
I think it's because we were delayed in putting out the
Oh,
bid. And you're right, if we don't get any bidders, then we can rebid it with a different minimum, you know, in a hurry, the next month maybe.
I would say maybe adding a performance bond or something like that, so that we have something outside of their gross sales and their cash to come after. You know, if we had a bonding company
I
that,
think we should have a refundable deposit.
right, I think we have a security deposit in there, right?
Right. So we should strictly enforce what we,
Or then it goes out to bid again.
Yeah.
You know, by a certain time.
Right.
Maybe, so you have to give the refundable deposit by a certain date, but if we're gonna put this on the next agenda, then it would be, you know, April 1st, you know, if you have, you have enough time to find somebody else, cause that also comes into play that.
well, if we have this resolution on the February meeting, and we can advertise it in the paper right away,
Let's do that.
and then have, response times for March 15th. And then we'll have time to assess and reevaluate if nothing happens. Please reach out to people you know, that's the. Yeah, I have.
Do not look this way.
speak.
No, not that last, one, the last item, the loan thing.
Oh,
the
the ESV
1.9.
loan?
Yeah,
Sure.
just a quick I just want to understand one thing. I totally get what Chris was saying, and it sounds to me like that's the much better option. What are you saying, and you're saying about the real estate tax portion, about the village taxes?
The taxes, yes.
You only took the 1.2, are you saying it's 70-30 on the 1.2, not on 1.9? So then in actuality, the taxpayers don't benefit from the grant?
Well, they do because the village does, yes.
But they're paying the 70-30 split on 1.9, even though the village is getting back 700 of that.
At some point, yes, yes.
There's no tax benefit for them on that then.
The tax benefit would not be, the benefit would not be reflected in the taxes, in that aspect of the taxes.
There's no modifying it after you get the grant, because it's paid on what you're taking.
See,
on
because we
1.9.
can't pay the grant and we can't pay off, once you get the grant, there's no incentive or advantage to paying it off early.
And I'm not sure if he was saying that's something you can or cannot mandate, like you don't have to mandate, like so you could actually alter the 70-30 to reflect it on 1.2. He was saying you don't necessarily have to put it into I wasn't quite sure how that works.
I don't know.
You'll have to look at the map. I recall it being stipulated in the map and plan. I recalling discussing it in a trustees meeting as to which way we were gonna. It could have been, we could have gone for 100% for everybody paying for the sewer district for the B.
No, it's really more the benefit of the
Yeah,
grant that I'm seeing.
it was
than
decided-
Passed on to the taxpayers who, especially at 70%, I'm not phase one, but if I'm a 70% contributor now to some phase one, I'm also paid to hook up. I don't necessarily, I haven't gotten a benefit of it, being able to change my use, and now my tax bill is going up based on an amount that the village actually isn't paying, that they're getting a lot of it back on.
Right.
Right,
Well,
which would be-
Through the, yes,
It may be, you've gotta look at that, it's been so long since the map
Right.
and plan.
okay. We'll have to look at
The 70%, 30% was the recapture of capital, I believe. The capital costs,
I think it was the bonded amount. It applied to the bonded amount because we anticipated at the time,
we anticipated a lot.
we anticipated getting what I thought was a lot, and that's
Right.
80%. And we ended up getting in excess of 90% grant money.
Yeah, but what I
So-
don't know is if the question is, if you have 1.9 million and then you reduce the capital by the 700,000, how do we treat that under the 70-30 split? I'm not 100% sure we're ready
Okay.
to one or the other, I have to look at that.
All right,
It's only been 6 or 7 years since we were last discussing it.
well, it took 10 years, right? So the map and plan was the first step in that. So that's around
Yeah.
2015, 16, you're taxing our memory here.
It's actually mine from last week, I just wanted to understand that, because the 1.9 sounded definitely like a better deal, you'll earn more interest in the bank from the
Yeah.
700.
Right, right.
But it also does seem that savings, that grant should be somehow passed on to savings to the.
Right.
Especially to those who hooked up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if we could find that out before we say yes.
Well, if he has something by tomorrow, the answer is no.
Too much reading.
Well, the loan still becomes the same amount, it's just that we're saying it really only costs the village 1.2 as opposed to 1.9.
Right.
Rounding numbers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But over,
So that's, should be, the tax should be based upon 1.2.
1.2, not 1.9.
I tend to agree with Chris, but
Yeah.
I just don't know, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So you would do the 70-30 on the 1.2, and then we would, even though we're taking it out for the 1.9, and then we would get the money back,
We're
and
still
we'd
getting
have
money
the
back.
interest.
That's our,
It's
that money's coming back to us, it's
yeah.
not part of the equation anymore.
Yeah,
It's like-
yeah.
It's like, it's almost, we just got a coupon for.
Yeah, and we would get 3%.
Got a coupon.
One that should be passed on.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a
we
good
can,
point. I agree with
question,
that.
we can look into that, see if we can, maybe that could be a question for the bond council as well.
Yeah.
If we can
Yeah.
work it out that way. All right. You're hurting me here.
That was a good point.
All right.
And the striping.
Restriping of Main Street, I shared, I don't know if I shared it with everybody. Ron Hill's, I'm sure I sent this in your email. Ron Hill's assessment of the eastern portion of Main Street and different options. And in my mind, this is all parking. So it could be addressed by the parking committee as the best way to approach this.
I'm gonna make one suggestion though.
Go ahead.
I
I
really,
think-
I think we should just continue on with the with the diagonal parking to get as many spaces as we can and put in a sidewalk if we have to.
Right, Ron Hill is suggesting, and it was my thought, was that he's suggesting we start with parallel parking on both sides. And then we do the diagonal and widen the street and put in a sidewalk when we're doing the diagonal. So that the parallel is just like a one season situation.
Like to get us through the
And
summer.
then when we get the parking fund and
If we
more
can't
money
get
in.
it done in time, yes.
But I think we could get it done in time. Does anyone on the parking committee think we could get it done in time?
What's holding us up from not getting time?
So,
What's the roadblock?
Well, there are,
Well, if-
I don't think there's that many, in my opinion, because it's already, most of it is there. The problem is gonna be the draining
The drainage and the sidewalk.
and the sidewalk.
And the width of the street for backing out and having parallel parking in one street and back, and optimally, we would have perpendicular parking, because then you get more spaces. That's
But that's
another option,
Very hard to
rather
move
than
in and
angle
out.
parking.
That's hard to make that turn.
Yeah, it's hard to get in.
That would be a legally to access, make a left-hand turn into a parking space.
I wanted to say
I don't know.
30. 30.
It's a lot.
It's a
It's
lot.
generally 30.
Around.
But you do have, I mean, there are some significant trees that you might wanna have designed around to keep, cause that would be nice.
And that's the whole, there's like one tree that's
Tree
maybe,
islands.
yeah, there's one tree that's maybe not doing well, but you wanna keep the trees. They look so nice, you know, they're
Yeah.
beautiful.
And that really helped the farmer's market.
Yeah, well, the idea was to add,
They
if I
already-
was on the parking committee,
Yeah.
I would add this. I didn't do it quick enough. I was seeing if anyone else wanted to jump in. But
No,
Yeah.
they wanted to do, if you add 30 spots there, you know, the vendors could park there. That would be something in the master plan of the paid and time parking, that would be unlimited.
You could also
Free.
see if Seafield was alright with losing one of those curb cuts, cause they have so many curb cuts.
Yes.
And curb cut, an entry means you lose like 3 or 4 spots on the
Mhm.
backside.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would be.
It should be designed, I think it's,
Yeah.
the easy answer is let's just pave it, but like roads are designed, like you have pitches, you have drainage, you have, you know, to make sure that the striping is done properly, so you're not doing it over.
And safely, cause we had moved that line on Beach Lane, up, right? We
Yes.
moved it up because you
Center-
couldn't really
center.
see, because there was
That
some
was-
parking on one side, so just making all that make sense. We're gonna have to add, a handicap, crosswalk, is that what it said in here, right?
But that's another aspect, yes,
Right.
if you do the sidewalks
The sidewalks,
and
which I
widen
think
the
we should
street
just,
on
go
the
for
south
it.
side, and yes,
Yeah.
yes.
because it's a part, it might not, it's gonna be some planning, because like Brad said, we are gonna need to have like a design that's thoughtfully designed and that makes sense, so that we try to have the least amount of errors and we try to make it as safe as possible, but it just makes sense if you're gonna do the diagonal parking to add as much as you can and plan it, than to do the parallel parking, which is so hard, and you're really not getting that many spaces, and people do it anyway right now.
Right now,
So,
people are doing it.
It's just that it's
Right.
not striped. So
Right.
they're doing it
Yeah,
anyway.
they're doing
I think
parallel parking.
you saw
Right.
that, so they're doing it anyway now, and they're not really getting tickets, I don't think, right? No. So
Right,
they're,
aren't any no parking.
yeah, so I don't think it makes sense, in my opinion, to have it striped and then change it
I agree.
and then change, I mean, I'd rather just try to see what we can get done before the season.
if it's not gonna be done before the season, I still think it just makes sense to do the continuation of the diagonal parking and have a sidewalk and figure out the tree islands and the other entrances and curb cutouts. But I like when you give options. That was nice. Yeah.
I'll send it to you tomorrow. It's 9 feet, he's got 10 feet.
Yeah, I saw that and I wasn't sure.
Maybe.
I don't know why he did the 10 feet. I thought he
Well,
said
maybe
9
I
at
didn't send
first.
it.
And
Oh,
then
I'll send it to you again.
yeah.
Okay.
We did, all Main Street is 9, so. it should be consistent.
And then I wasn't sure, this is existing
What?
curb.
Stuff
Do
like
not.
that goes to John.
Yeah.
No,
What are
He
we
did
now
say
on?
that.
that's Star, his favorites.
Yeah,
That's why we changed the code.
okay. That's another.
But if you're gonna change the lighting,
Yes.
just do it.
Do it nice or you do it twice.
Having cars back into the roadway there.
Yeah.
He's got $700 and something thousand dollars.
Right.
Yeah,
We're at design.
we can afford it.
You're gonna make back in taxes for this.
And then, but it would help a lot with the farmer's market specifically, because it's such a beautiful place to have it there. And it has grown out of its space a little bit with the people. But if they could stop parking in private lots, anyone that has a private lot. And also, when we do change the paid parking or timed parking, it'd be nice to have something still close to the farmer's market that's free.
Yeah.
And then even for the restaurants like Flora, it's not that far, or
This
Salt
also-
and Lot,
This also could be not subject to the 2-hour limit.
yes.
This
Well,
could
that's what
be,
you would do, and that would actually push employees as well, maybe to
Yeah.
park there.
And it's not too
Right.
far.
Yeah.
So I think that's a
That's
good.
the other thing the parking committee can
Yeah,
work
the
on.
voting departments.
You know, Carlisle for 4 hours and things like that.
Yeah.
you're gonna be on it.
I'm happy to be on it. I was on the sign committee like 25 years ago.
I heard it.
Unfortunately, I have to work and get it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I forget to
You could.
Okay,
send you an easy one, Chris.
I have one walk-on item, real quick, and that is that we got a quote for backless benches. It's a special deal without, it doesn't have the tariffs on it. A 5-foot backless bench is only $627.
It has the sides that match the other ones.
Like the
No,
arms.
no handrails, no arms, just backless benches. But
look both ways.
look.
But it
We
matches.
wanted the backless ones for along the side,
Yeah.
but we found ones that matched.
With arms?
Yeah.
It's
Let
like
me
a
look
little
at- I
side,
sent
yeah.
it to you. I sent it to you and Kim
I saw it. Mhm.
in the email. And if you click on.
Original.
No, the
No.
original one had the arms. That
Yeah, just a couple days ago, I sent you an email.
yeah. The ones with the arms were the matching.
Got the jump too.
I get no respect out of it. Well, I just thought I'd put it out there, and if we, wanna order, I would like to order 4. One of them, spoke, if we decide on these, order 4. We can, we'll discuss it and further. and
Yeah,
make
just
an assessment.
Side.
Well, the bench committee is these two, so. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so now I need a motion to go into executive session for personnel matter, and our chief will join us. All in favor?
I
Aye, and it should be a quick executive session.